This week on AI Builders, host Sean sits down with Diogo, SVP of Engineering at Feedzai, the $2 billion AI native financial crime prevention platform that shields banks, fintechs, and merchants from fraud, scams, and money laundering. Diogo's team is responsible for the software that safeguards trillions in payments every year, and he has lived through every major platform shift, including a bold on-prem to cloud. Now he's deep in the next one, making AI coding agents actually pay off at scale. In this episode, we cover why curiosity, not seniority, separates the engineers who win with AI, why faster code generation just exposed how slow everything else in the pipeline really is, and his contrarian call that most of an engineer's tokens will run off their own laptop.
What? Hey, and I don't care about what they say. Come from a place where we pray for better days. Get it how you live, yeah, that's the only way.
Good to have you on, man. I was really excited to speak with you today, right? It's not often that we have a guest on the show that has gone through the full arc of, early team, building the platform and actually turning that platform into a unicorn. I think when I was reading up for this, you guys are processing 90 billion events and, protecting $8 trillion. So it's a platform that runs at scale. So I was really excited to have a conversation with you today. And I know this is like AI builders, right? And we're kind of AI pilled here, but can you take me through like the arc of that journey, right? How after 17 years are you still excited to come to work, but also like how has the engineering team reinvented itself, over the last 17 years when you have like all these all the different types of hype and different types of tools, from like moving to cloud to, I guess Kubernetes was probably in there at some stage, now to AI.
Sure. So I'll probably start first with why I kept after 17 years, and I summarize basically into things. One is people, and the combination of high standards, of a competitive team in a good sense, not the bad competition. Also human, and we really feel as a team, and the perseverance, right? I think those probably are important to me because they are very valuable and also aligned with my personality. But it really helps basically go through the arc as you said, with this type of people. Some since day one, others that have been joining, and I'm really proud of the team that we have. And the second is what you do with these people and the challenges that we embrace, which especially for an engineering leader and for an engineer itself, the combination of scale that we operate in terms of volume, but also with speed, because we have been since day one a company that is very worried with real time, and everything is real time. So I usually say that we chose one of the hardest businesses because it's a critical platform. It deals with a lot of data. It needs to be in real time. So it's almost like handpicked a recipe of challenges. But even as a leader, one of the interesting challenges that I've gone through was we initially started doing software for on-prem, right, for large institutions, large banks, and they would deploy on their data centers. And basically, roughly 6-7 years ago, we were already working on the cloud, but we took the bold decision where no competitor did so far, to embrace a pure SaaS business, right? So at the time, it was a really interesting move, and which I've been very, very involved on, working with the largest banks worldwide, convince them that it would be safe to go to the cloud, and actually help transforming an industry itself. And I think one of the proofs, once again, for an engineering organization that I have about these challenges is probably the best engineers I've worked with that eventually left off to evolve the career. They actually came to me, and I remember one of them saying there wasn't a single month that I didn't learn anything at Feedzai, and that, let's say, they leave because they wanted different challenges, but with a nostalgic effect on their journey through Feedzai, because of so many challenges that they've gone through. And that's what basically removes the boring part of the business, and what kept me here for so long.
Take me back to the decision, how you made the decision about moving to cloud. Like, what was driving that? Was it like a certain metric that you guys were looking at? You talk about real time. So was it like latency, that would improve latency and customer experience, or was it a cost, or like how did you make that decision to move to cloud, and what was driving it?
Yeah, actually, latency was worst in the sense that we were already inside the data centers of the customers. So that was actually one of the things that some of them got worried, is like, now we need to pay an extra 50 or 100 milliseconds. But was most of all two things. One was reliability. It running this type of system in a highly reliable way, it was a real struggle with on-prem systems, because we have no control. You would have to package it and ship it, and then the ones that would be operating didn't know nothing about it. We had horror stories of calls with customers during incidents that took 20 hours, 24 hours, not because we couldn't solve the issues, but we just couldn't do anything, right? So reliability was one. And also, when you go into on-prem world, especially, and Feedzai works with the largest banks worldwide, they would force you part of their stack, right? Oh, I don't want Postgres, I want Oracle, or I want MySQL, or I want the Microsoft database, and I don't like this Java distribution, or I don't like it's not approved this version of Hadoop. We want Cloudera versus Hortonworks. It was a nightmare. We have more theoretical combinations. We actually made some at the time, was part of the original decision deck. We had more than 1,000 combinations of deployments that we could have. Even that at the time we had like 50 customers, but we were testing all of those combinations, right?
Yeah.
So that basically wasn't putting us in a path to the growth that we wanted. And lastly was even the time to value, right? It was normal that just setting up hardware and setting up the basic systems could take 6, 9, 12 months between procuring hardware and getting everything. While in the cloud, even today, we basically, it's a couple of hours, the system is set up, right? Then you can start doing the integration and so on. So for the business owner on the bank side, waiting for 12 months for IT was killing us, also the value proposition.
Yeah. I mean, 10 years ago, right? Like that, or whenever you made the shift, right? It must have been a pretty hefty undertaking, right? Because like it's only in the last 10, 15 years that cloud is second nature to everybody now. It's like, it's no brainer, but like, I can imagine working with some of the biggest banks in the world, who some of them are early adopters to a lot of technology and some of them are laggards, right? So it was probably a big risk at the time to take.
Look, it was a bold decision. We had made a few of them over our history. I remember we took a decision roughly end of November, and in January we shaved about 30% of our pipeline. We just discarded it.
Yeah.
Right. Literally, we just took it out, and it was a real challenge to the revenue team as well, and it was a bet. We had only roughly 30% of our customers already on the cloud.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, that's a good segue into where we are now, right? Like AI seems like it's a big bet on the future, and maybe we might look back at that, in 10 years' time and said, yes, it was the right bet, or maybe it's the wrong bet. Who knows? But I remember off air, we spoke off air, and you said that about 12 months ago you felt that coding agents were getting better, and that's kind of the point where you guys started adopting AI from a software development perspective. Can you take me through that journey so far, and like where it stands, and
Sure.
you're reading it?
So basically, as I said, April last year, we took the decision of making available to every single engineer in the company. At the time, we selected Cursor. We did a couple of POCs the months before, and at the time, let's say the subscriptions were so cheap, right? $250 per year per engineer. It was almost like a no-brainer, even if there was not a lot of value. If you compare $250 with the salary of an engineer, it was a no-brainer to just roll it out and see what happened, which was the approach at the time. I usually call it internally a spray and pray, and let's see how it works. We did some training, we did some sessions with engineers, with helping them with prompting, with setup, how to use sharing, knowledge sharing sessions, and so on. But it basically was the initial approach, right? Then moving forward, let's say 12 months, and this year, all the AI coding tools have switched their pricing model, and suddenly something that was a no-brainer, even without, let's say, massive value, right? It became something different, right? So then we started looking and said, we are not continuing this in this format. We are not abandoning AI, but if we are going to spend $250,000 or so in AI, then we need to have value. And I've been monitoring. I've been excited about this throughout the last 12 months, and I've been monitoring. Okay, who are the people that are more excited, that are really using it? And I learned that the difference between having good results or no results was actually the curiosity that allowed them to basically throw the different walls that they were seeing down, while the others, like, this doesn't work, it's not helpful. So what then we realized that was these people were actually cutting some corners and so on in order to be able to integrate on their day-to-day, and they were doing things that the others weren't, right? And they were using directly to pull information from Jira. I had one of my directors that to start using basically the most recent models a couple of months ago. He basically stopped in a Saturday, because it's when you have free time, right? And he literally pulled 50 bugs from Jira and put Claude generating merge requests for each one of them. It took him like 4 hours to fix or to propose fixes for 50 bugs. And then the team was, but of course, we need to review, and it's going to be bad because this code base is highly legacy. The model doesn't know. The reality was a number of those bugs were actually solved and were actually fixed, right? But the difference was no one at the time even thought about asking the model to go to Jira and look for bugs, help me resolve them. The people were like, okay, I know that I have the task of resolving a certain bug, so I'm going to first understand how to solve it, and then I'm going to ask the model to solve it. And it just, no, I don't want to tell the model how to solve it. So a few of those examples led us to the fact that we need to integrate all of the ecosystem of Feedzai, right? The code base needs to be available to the models, the different systems, Jira, GitLab, Confluence, our platform, our internal developer platform, and it needs to be easy. So that evolved into our internal CLI to gain new wheels, let's put it that way. And we started developing a number of these commands and building then skills to help to explain the model how to interact with Feedzai, right? So instead of just saying the model, go and learn how to work with Jira, with this, with that, we already put, let's say, our terms, our ecosystem behind this CLI. And now we distribute skills, we distribute new commands and so on through the CLI, and it's having a real great impact on the team because it's becoming much more easy to solve different problems and to explore the knowledge. A really curious example was one of the engineers he wanted to store some data on S3, not on the database, and he wanted the model to do it. So he asked the model, and the model said, I don't know exactly how to do it within your ecosystem to deploy to production. And it just said, oh, I think this team in this system already did it. This was the only prompt. And the model went, read the code, and generated the storage that he needed at the first prompt without more than this. It just said, this team already did it, right? So this curiosity of how do you share the knowledge with models, right? Because this would be how you would work with a colleague, right? He doesn't know. He said, go talk to this guy because he already did it. It's the easiest way. But sometimes people don't do this. So what we are now trying to work is explore that curiosity, but at the same time, this knowledge needs to be available, right? And that part is the one that we are exploring the more. Then moving forward to agents and starting to put more routine tasks into an agentic platform, and some of the teams are already picking it up to basically take off the toil. For example, an agent that reads CVEs from Sneak and basically proposes the merge request already to fix the CVE, right? It's always that type of thing that you need to do, but everyone reads it as toil work.
Yeah, a recent guest said for an engineering team, like a really well-oiled AI pipeline is like a new communication layer because it's breaking down these silos that have existed, right? And some people have great communication skills, some people don't, and AI kind of gives people that equilibrium now of communicating and understanding, and as you said, like breaking down some silos that another team has done something. Now that can propagate to my work, and I can learn or not double work on that.
Yeah, even that it's interesting because actually the engineers that are more collaborative are in most of the cases are the ones that are getting better results. It's not a rule, but because once they realize that if they talk to the model the same way that they talk with their colleagues, right? Yeah. They get better results. So because they already have the skills of being collaborative, they just need to embrace the model as a new colleague.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Now, what like You know, I think there's a lot of misinformation in the market, especially if you go into Twitter, and you can see that like there's a lot of AI washing of like, you know, AI is going to take every single job on the planet, whatever. Like what core traits and skills do you think that AI will not replace, and why we still need software engineers going forward?
Mhm. So again, let's see how it evolves. But I believe if you are in a mission, right, to solve a specific business problem, most of the times the challenge is you need to identify what's the problem. You need to guide and make hard decisions on what to do and what not to do. Right, the traditional, it's much harder to say what not to do than what to do. And I don't think models, even that they have the capacity to do everything, that doesn't mean that you will get to better products, right? The simplicity, are you actually solving a problem, the emotional impact that you have with a product, it's something that I believe it still requires the human interaction. And also at the complexity level, it's not yet clear how much complexity these systems can take, because then you are not just solving technical problems, right? For sure there will be businesses that you can have the $1 billion business with a single person, right? Eventually I believe those can exist, but that's not going to be the majority of the businesses. So how can you then navigate and make those decisions? That is an important part. It's not, then you could argue, okay, then you just need like product managers or so. No, of course then it becomes with real challenges that engineers still need to be part of this. But what I believe are the most important traits, one is you need to get back to fundamentals, right? You need to understand what is good architecture, what is good software, because these models learn with all the data that exists in the world. So they learn with very good engineers, and they also learn with very bad engineers. Anyone that uses this, you can see that these models can produce very bad code and garbage, but at the same time really good code. So we will need to be on the watch. We need to evolve how to get those results better. And so curiosity is a second thing, and opening, because you need to learn about these things. While in the past you have learned how to do algorithms, how to do data structures, and so on. We are now in a phase of discovery of how to get better with these models. So the curiosity effect, I think, is really important, because even every 6 months the model changes, and you say the same thing to the different model, and you get a different result. So this is an important part. And I think one is patience, right? You really need patience to get, and perseverance. It's a mix of both to get the best results out of it. From my personal observation is that the way that people quit or let go of the model so quickly is most of the times the indicator that they don't get results.
So are we looking at like there's a lot of skepticism out there right now around the ROI of AI from a coding perspective? Do you think that's just a premature conversation now, based on like?
I think it's putting, let's say, at least the pressure on the industry at the right time. Well, especially because all of these tools have increased prices massively. But I think it's going, let's say, it's putting the pressure, but it's going to be solved, right? From one side, the models are getting so better that then the open source models are usually 6 to 12 months behind, right? But if you think that what today is probably Claude 4.7 or 4.8, that is extremely good model, next year will probably be at the realm of open source models.
Mistral will,
Then it's really 1 year what is going to change the world. Or if it's really so expensive, these models, then the open source ones, it's worth to wait a year, and we usually see a 10x difference between the open source and the others. So that's one. Second, with the evolution, I think more and more companies will start to host their own models, which will even push it down. And that is an immense number of new platforms or new hosting providers that are just dedicated to this, not just the AWS and the and Google and Microsoft, which are effectively much more cheaper. And last but not least, I think, and you already seen now the recent announcements from NVIDIA and Microsoft with GPUs on laptops. I think we are probably 2 years away that most of the people, or at least 50 to 70% of the tokens of a software engineer, will be served out of their own laptop, which will even going to be much faster because of latency. But it will give you a flat cost. Maybe it's a laptop that costs you 5K, which is let's say much more expensive than today, but it's amortized across 3 years, and there is predictability on the cost. So I think the media is putting that pressure, but it's basically allowing these other options to develop faster. And in my opinion, that's why we are putting that, let's say, that's focus and that investment on the teams. Is we don't want to wait for that to happen. I think it will happen because somehow there's a lot of money involved, and it's too big to fail at this time. So I don't want that mindset shift that we need to do on people to be waiting for the tokens are enoughly cheap for us to now to learn how to use them. So that's my strategy at this moment. We are now talking about the people change and not technology change, and that will take time. It will take much more time than the technology is taking these days.
So your bet is that open weight's going to get better, self-hosting is going to get better. We'll have the right skill sets to make the standard cost of using AI and consuming AI a lot more flat and less volatile. That's the bet you're making. But then the continuous bet in terms of people, right? So, there's a stick and carrot approach, right? And I've seen two kind of play out, talking to other friends who are heads of engineering, and there's one side of the curve is like, well, we're going to allocate tokens and models based on how you're using AI. So if you demonstrate that you're building the right skills, using memory, being proficient with AI and taking the right steps to make it a really good tool for you, you have access to a lot more of the high, inference models, versus someone who's still kind of one-shotting and a bit more lazy in terms of how to instrument that tool. Is that something that you're considering, or is that something that you're still kind of saying, let's see how it plays out, and kind of bet on tooling to normalize that?
So definitely we are, let's say, at the current moment, we believe there's still a few more improvements that we can do to basically lower the barrier. So that it becomes so obvious, right, for each engineer that not using it and not getting the results will become an actual performance of the engineer issue, right? I'm trying to make it, let's say, instead of the stick, is people actually seeing the results happening around them. And then it will eventually, if we get those results, then it will become a performance. It can become a performance discussion. But we always have been at Feedzai balanced. We don't, let's say, as we discussed back with the cloud move, we are not afraid of take bold decisions, but we always been balanced between, we don't want to be investing in every new trend, because it usually loses and requires a lot of focus, but we won't be the laggers on the things that really matter. So that's why we are taking this considerate approach of, I want to lower the barrier and the learning curve, so that then we can take eventually a more bold decision of either investing more, having more assertive discussions with engineers. But I believe this will happen. And what I was yesterday on engineering all, and what I was saying is, I'm not concerned that we lose our jobs because of AI, in the sense that it will replace us, but we might actually lose our jobs because of AI, because we don't use AI.
Yeah.
And as a company, we are not fast enough to react to the market. So that is my belief, and I prefer to do that investment and be ready, rather than waiting and then not having the ability to react.
Yeah, and it's I guess software. It's kind of easy and hard to like bring analogous stories and analogous industries to like software. Like, for example, I don't know, in furniture making 100, 200 years ago, it was a craft, it was artisanal, where, you know, people focused on the quality, and it might take them an extra few months to make that chair, but that chair stood the test of time, right? And now we're kind of in an era where I guess over the last 20 years, we're trying to build this factory line from a software development, and we talk about pipelines and Lean Sigma and all that, right? And AI is just like accelerating, I would argue, the part that we never really struggled with in generating code, right? But like, other people might disagree. Like, so how are you seeing the evolution of the factory evolve with AI, and like, where do you see the bottlenecks today, and like things that we really need to pay attention to? Because we've invested so much now on like code generation, right? Where do we think now we need to make the extra bets to make sure that the pipeline is flowing and smooth and fluid?
Mm-hmm. So I think one of the interesting things that AI is bringing is, now that generating code is the fastest, in the case that you use, the fastest path, it just exacerbates how inefficient is the rest of the process, right?
Yeah.
Depending on each company. So one of the things that we have been investing, but probably not as much as we should, was on developer experience, right? How easy it is for you to evolve your software, take it to production, and it's not just about the traditional pipeline with the happy path, but now I need a different type of technology. Now I need to get different type of accesses. So whenever there is something different, is there a path for that or not? And I think AI is exacerbating that, because people were used to, if you wait for a week to get other team to solve you the issue, that's fine, because you're going to take 2 months to develop the code, right? Now, if you are trying to, the same thing will take you a week, but you are a week waiting, then it's doubling your time. It's not distributed. So for me, that is one of the bottlenecks, is how fast can you iterate when you need to evolve and you are now exposed to different things. You are now also trying to use models in your own software, and your own software needs to be intelligent as well. So it's expanding the possibilities. So we need that velocity beyond the code generation, right? And the other part is actually the people, right? One of the things that I've been discussing with the team is we have been doing so much effort on splitting tasks small so that you can ship fast. And now I think we need to reverse that, right? Because if you split too much, then all it's left is coordination and people talking to each other versus I take a bigger piece of the feature or of the system, whatever. If it's just me and the model, I move so much fast that introducing someone else is just going to make everything slower. So I think in the dynamics of the teams, getting back to bigger chunks of work is going to feel unnatural, especially when you have been hammering them for years to ship fast, smaller pieces of code. But now you can. That was only because you took too long to generate code. Now, if you can generate code much faster, you can actually release bigger pieces, and you need to have that path to production really quick. So that's another one. And testing, it's you're used to also have humans in the loop to review, to assess, and fix. Now, if you put a model you run the tests, you see the outputs. So it will put you, especially in our case where some of the test suites can take hours. For models, waiting for hours, it seems like everyone is waiting. So definitely that is another bottleneck. And the hardest for me, we have talked about it, is just a mindset, right? If we put blockers in it, we don't ask the models to move faster, that will be the main bottleneck when you would compare to a perfect execution, let's put it that way. I still think that's the part where we might lose more time, is if we are not asking the right thing or we are not trying enough to get to the outcome.
Yeah. Well, I think that's across the board. Like I see that across the board where testing is a big bottleneck. Security is a big bottleneck, right? Like security people are outnumbered 100 to 1 in most organizations, and now it's like a tsunami coming at them, right? So it's and same with testing and QA testing in the traditional sense, where more coming at them. How do they absorb that? So you also handle security and govern security at Feedzai, right? Like, has there been conversations about how security evolves in this era and making that smoother in the pipeline as well?
Definitely. I think, again, the best CISOs I've worked with, and I've of course, especially dealing with very large banks, always security is a very hot topic, right? But I always seen the ones that get better results are the ones that really understand the business and the need of the business. And I usually say that the job of security is keeping the business safe, but the business needs to exist, right? So if you are just blockers, then it's actually hurting the business, not making the business more secure. It's just not allowing the business to progress.
Oh, yeah.
So I think at this moment, what I'm seeing is basically AI is amplifying the work of engineering and security. They are also security engineers. So I'm actually putting the same, let's say, level of investment into the team. Is like, don't think that you are now getting flooded with requests. Is think that you can develop your own skills, and models will listen to you, coding much better than engineers, because if you make them part of the core skills, then they will consider it on a systemic and regular way, and you can have your own concerns being actually part, and it's much easier to do the shift left of security with AI. As well as the example that I was saying, the CV example, I was telling them, look, guys, you are always asking the teams to prioritize. What if you work with the teams to develop these agents, and just take that work out of them? You just need to prioritize their time to review, not the time to develop, right?
Yeah.
So I'm making it. I think it's actually these more, if you call it supporting roles, they actually have much more to win, because they usually don't have the same attention, but they can now have, from one side, much more capacity just with the models, and second, they can basically put their concerns, their instructions, their goals into other sub-organizations in a systematic way, and not just through training and so on.
Yeah. So let's switch gears, right? So we've talked a lot about, we'll say, the team, how let's say I've adopted it, your perception of AI, right? Like, let's pretend I'm a CFO, right? Because that's always an interesting conversation. We'll say, like, okay, Diogo, you've invested $1 million in AI over the last, I'm pulling figures out of my head as well, just in case our listeners think that that's the actual number, right? But for easy maths, right? You've invested $1 million in, AI, right? In terms of like tokens, tools, enablement. What am I getting from it? Like, and again, I'm a CFO. I look in terms of how much it's costing me. So what are the advantages we're getting today, or the future advantages? Is it leaning into our business, right? We're a fraud detection service, right? So are we actually getting more customers from it, or more revenue from our existing customers, or are we cutting costs? Like, how are those conversations developing? And like, how would you educate me then, as a CFO that is probably not close to the weeds on tech, to understand it?
So I think first you need to understand what's the priority of the business, right? Are you still in the phase that you want to, or do you need to accelerate your growth? Are you in a stage where you're okay with your growth and you need to control cost? And those will have, let's say, different approaches. If you are on growth, I don't think it's the time to start firing or so. It's actually, how can this accelerate the growth, but be driven by numbers, right? In the sense, what are the metrics that we can see about productivity? Are you putting more products out there, right? And that are linked to actual revenue? Are you unblocking new opportunities? You need to see that. Of course, you can then try to have the leading indicators of its velocity and throughput of your engineering teams growing. So that's in the case of you need to accelerate growth. So you probably just buy that growth, not through marketing and so on, but because you're developing more products, and you basically fund that growth with tokens. But it really needs to transform in terms of actual numbers, right? I would suggest that start with your baseline, and because you are used, right, to do your budgeting process. If you're thinking about a medium to large company, and then build AI on top, right? Okay, if I'm willing to invest an extra $1 million, am I getting 10 million back in revenue? Is the product team, product and engineering team, okay to sustain an additional target for the sales team? How is that going to come? Because I think these top numbers, while they are harder for the product and engineering teams to commit to, is like, is there actually a return or not? And if you are not comfortable with committing with a higher target together with the revenue team, then it's because either you don't know what you need to do. It doesn't mean that AI it's not there, but you probably don't know what you can do if you are faster, or because you know, but you don't know how to use AI, and then you're probably not at the stage that you need to invest in bulk. You just need to get that maturity. If you are in a stage where you're okay with your growth and you want to start controlling costs, once again, start with your base budget and then say, okay, if you are planning to hire 20 people and that those 20 people will cost you $2 million, can you do half of that and only spend a quarter of that in tokens, right?
Yeah.
Because you're getting the multiplying effect. I'm a fan of the top level numbers. While they are, let's say, hard for the day to day, they're the ones that matter, right?
Yeah.
If I'm asking 100K in tokens and I'm not even comfortable with, let's say, not hiring 1 or 2 FTEs to offset those 100K in tokens in a team of 100, then something is off, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, it all leads to the financials, and they are usually the ones that you cannot game with them, right?
Yeah.
It's hard
Yeah.
to commit, but you cannot game with them. In the end, either you spend or not, or either you sell or not, and those are very easy and clear for everyone to understand.
Yeah. So like your leading metric is like time to market, really. It's like, okay, how quickly can we get this feature out, time to market, and then the lagging indicators in our, your LTV growing per customer, your NRR, your ARR, etc.
More than time to market is, we also don't want to just ship let's say shitty features, right?
Yeah. Shit.
It's definitely time to market, but is the company actually believing that this velocity will be absorbed by the market? Is there market to grow?
Yeah.
Is the sales team comfortable with that growth as well?
Yeah.
I don't think we should be just, let's say, using AI for the sake of AI. I think there is value, but we should not be risking of using it because we are afraid, but then there is no plan to monetize it.
Yeah. And, recently the post hog, I think CTO or CPO said, right, like what it's doing is it's just giving us more optionality in terms of the bets we can take, because there's no guarantee we take a feature and we release it quickly. That doesn't mean revenue is going to go up. But what we can do is like look at 3 features that we've been cooking or want to cook, put it out there, and then that should have, the more times we iterate that, and you mentioned iteration is key to all this, like the more times we can iterate, we should see those numbers kind of like positively having an impact. Exactly. unless the fundamentals are wrong, unless that pipeline's wrong. So that's interesting. Okay, Diogo, I'm the CFO. You got another $1 million. There you go. Right? Yeah, I'm happy.
Thank you.
So let's. I know we're running out of time here, but like the question I ask everybody, the last question I ask everybody is like the signal, right? Because I fear with new technologies, we can get lost in hype cycles, and like we can lost in echo chambers. Like you go on X and you can see people raving of, like, it's very polarizing, right? Like there's some people that are AI is going to take over the world. There's some people that AI is going to like bust in the next 12 months. From your chair and like from working at the coalface, like what do you think the signal people are missing, and what are you most excited about? So they're kind of 2 questions I have to part with.
Yeah, I think it's definitely hard to get the signal from the noise, and especially, let's say, social media is so good at creating your own world, right? Yeah. You just wait 2 more seconds on a certain post, and suddenly your feed is already adjusting. So that polarization, I think, is just growing and growing because of that, right? I see myself 1 week, it seems that the world is ending and because of AI. The week after is not ending and AI is ending. and nothing changed. It's just maybe a few shares that I've done with my peers, and the algorithm got it. So I think we need to probably just completely ignore, let's say, the media. Let's put it that way. My perception is there is a path for this to work. So in a world where this works, let's say in a not polarized way, what is the impact on your specific business, right? Are you a business that is easily replaceable or not? Because there's businesses that are more around data, right? And AI is not going to replace you because they don't have the private data that a certain business has. There's others that are really about your deep IP in a specific field, and of course, especially in business, and because we are B2B, those types of examples exist a lot. But we need to understand, okay, what is actually the threat to us, and really understand what can put us out of business because of AI. So it's not a question of the speed and so on, but what can actually be a threat for your business. So that's the part that I would put the business leaders to think about, is avoid a bit the chaos that is out there. Should you fire engineers? Should you hire engineers? Should you spend more or less tokens? But what should you actually do when this is fully working? And what can a competitor do if it's using this? So that I think is the part that you don't see anyone talking about. So you just see the media saying that AI will replace everything. My opinion, it's not, but it will dramatically change the world. And if you find those, let's say, bets or those risks that you are facing, is your team ready to face them or not, right? Because if you find them, probably someone else will find as well. And now the question is, will that other competitor be equipped to execute it faster than you? Then it's when the fast versus slow will change. So that's why then it's the part of, is the team ready? Is the mindset there? Because then we'll need to lead where we are going to invest that velocity and that speed of AI.
Great. Cool. Diogo, really enjoyed the chat. I think there's a lot of great stuff there for people to take away, no matter where they are on their journey. So yeah, thanks, man. Great chat.
Thank you, Chad.